Thankful for that.
Fantastic.
I'm kind of nervous on that day.
You didn't what?
Okay, the day before, I was feeling kind of nervous.
Yeah. Yeah. So understandable though. Honestly, whenever we have stuff like this going on, like film crews coming or anybody with a camera or anything like that, I always totally lose my confidence. So I very much understand what you went through. But I saw a few photos and I also saw a few of the recordings, Christine, and you look amazing. You come across like very professional, very knowing, like very confident. So nothing to be worried about there.
What was the film about?
Yeah. About Christine. About
all right, about your work.
yeah.
Documented. Okay, cool.
Basically to sort of capture her journey, her development since she joined the program.
Okay, cool.
Like I'd say almost like a case study without being a case study, just like a footage of what the program has done to her and her life and her way of, her feelings and all that.
Okay.
Right, I can see Bernard is with us now. Bernard Bolo. Nice to meet you.
Hello, Bernard. Nice to meet you.
Okay.
Hello.
Hi, good evening. Just doing a quick count.
Hello. Hello.
Hi.
Yes.
I can hear
Good
you.
evening.
Good evening. How are you?
Okay, thanks.
Elizabeth, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
What do you want us to do? Shall we start off?
Yes, we can start off. We already quorum, and the rest can find us as we go along, because it's already 5:03.
Yes, you're right. Have an eye on
Then probably we could turn on our cameras. We do a group photo for the session, and then we proceed.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's okay. Now we can proceed. How about you, Madeline?
Oh, Madeleine, ich kann dich nicht hören. Du musst dein Mikro einstellen, bitte.
Okay. Does it? Okay, now, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, now it's working. Yeah.
Right. I would like to welcome everybody who is here with us today in a very special FLEP cooperative FLEP Co-op mentoring session, which is session number 14 out of 15. And that's not the only reason why it's so special, but particularly because today we have our mentees here, our 12 mentees that we have worked with all along. And we have joined us from their personal environments. We have asked our mentees to please nominate and bring along men in their lives which are of meaning, which are of influence to their context, which are joining them in their life stories. And that's why our group of people joining us today is much larger than it would normally be. I would also like to welcome Christoph May, who's with us today, our main facilitator. He is the founder of the Center for Detox Masculinity, which is the topic we are going to dedicate ourselves to today. So that means we want to enter a space today where we talk with each other about observations and about matters that we all come across in our lives, which is a lot of gender stereotyping, and also what that does to us in the way we see the world, in the way we communicate with each other, and in the way we work with each other. So we would like to approach the matter in a gentle way, but also in a way that really makes us aware again how much we are exposed to a world which is full of stereotypes, and what we can do in order to just get along in this inclusive space a little bit better. So everybody is welcome. When you feel that you want to say something, or you want to contribute to the session, or you would like to share your opinion and your views, there will be a lot of opportunities for that. For now, I would like to hand over to Christoph to take us through today's program. We are very excited to have him today, and very happy to have this opportunity of having such an inclusive space of open conversations and different views on gender and on inclusive living. Welcome,
Thank
Christoph.
you. Thank you so much, Madeleine. I'm glad you all came, and a million thanks first to Madeleine again, and to Elizabeth and Richard for the invitation and for the organization, and yeah, for your whole commitment. I'm very happy to be here today. And yeah, my name is Christoph May, and I live in northern Germany, to be precise, near the North Sea, okay, on the coast in a village called Norddeich. And yeah, the temperature here is currently 7 degrees. I do research on masculinities, and yeah, I was invited to talk with you today about images of masculinity and how they influence us. I'm very happy that a few men are here today as well. It was very important to us to hear your opinions and to have this conversation with you as well. But yeah, I would like, yeah, but how do you actually become a researcher on masculinity? I switched to the image you can see here. Now I won't see you, but yeah. Madeleine, can you see everything? Is everything good? And can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, and I can see the
Okay,
screen.
cool. So yeah, but first maybe the question, how do you actually become a researcher on masculinity studies? Well, the perfect birthplace for a male researcher is, of course, the GDR, socialism, the wet male fantasy of Marx, Engels, and Honecker. Later, I went to a Protestant boarding school. The faith in the Holy Father and His Son was omnipresent there. Church services, Bible study groups, church choir, and yeah. But did we ever ask ourselves in religion lessons why the main characters, Adam, Jesus, the apostles, and God, are all men? The probably most powerful story of all time is a male fantasy. At the same time, I slipped into the graffiti scene through my brother. And yeah, we didn't spray, we bombed with cans, with paints, and even with fire extinguishers full of paint. We sneaked across forbidden terrain and hunted down trains and walls. In our young boys' imagination, graffiti conquered the whole of Berlin. And yeah, the Ringbahn trains, the train runs our letters through the city in a continuous loop. The gender ratio in the graffiti scene is very balanced. It's all men. So yeah, just like the counterparts, we're all men, judges, graffiti squad, security men. I studied ancient history at the university. Homer, Hercules, Caligula, all the European ancient Western perspective on our history, and yeah, all the countless male wars and heroic sagas of the Greeks and Romans. And yeah, I majored in literature science, the Source of Young Werther, Faserland, Infinite Jest. The reading canon at universities is still dominated by male authors. I wasn't conscious about that during that time. I also worked at Berghain, that is a well-known techno club in Berlin. Yeah, it's like a darkroom fantasy made of steel and concrete, and there's a huge queer scene, and yeah, so that and techno scene. So that was my life, a short overview over my life. As you can see, I'm geared towards man from head to toe. So yeah, it was also at Berghain that I finally met my great companion Stephanie Mai. And yeah, Stephanie couldn't do anything at all with graffiti and pop literature. She found it all boring and dull, and instead she raved to me about Virginia Woolf, Simone de Beauvoir. Stephanie is a writer and studied art history, and prehistoric archaeology, and at the Freie Universität in Berlin. And in 2016, we founded the Institute for Critical Masculinity Research together, or Detox Masculinity Institute. Our logo shows the masculinity symbol, and we folded the arrow inwards. Only we folded the arrow inwards. So everything you hear now, we have worked out together over the last 15 years. But yeah, I'm just the one who goes out and bring it to the man. She can very well do without this fight. So we have developed 3 approaches to take a look at masculinity. First and foremost, male monocultures. Here we negotiate male cultures of power, violence, and abuse. At the center is the question, how can we, as men, recognize and break up male monocultures? We are approached by companies and institutions that want to break up their male-dominated structures. The second topic we call male fantasies. This male representational power, images of men and male-dominated narratives you see in literature, series, films, music. The question here is, how can we change our male-dominated media consumption to female and queer productions? And here we work primarily with acting schools and theater academies. The third topic is we call critical masculinity. And yeah, here we discuss the reality of the participants' lives, that is job, family, friends, sport, etc. And what can we as men do to behave in a self-critical and feminist way, like 24/7. So male monocultures, male fantasies, and critical masculinity. And yeah, today I want to give you an initial insight into these 3 major topics. And we all start with Männerbünde, so male alliances would be the correct translation. The alliances, I can only give you the perspective from my German findings and surroundings, of course. So I give you some short input about that. I don't know much about your situation, but I would love to discuss that afterwards. So but first, back to Germany. The alliances between men preventing everything what could perhaps still save the world: climate protection, diversity, feminism, equality, and much more. Instead of male alliances, we also speak of male monocultures, and they bring various phenomena into society. There's all forms of misogyny, that is a that is the hate against women, hostility against women, femicide and sexism. All forms of violence are male-dominated. Our prisons are predominantly occupied by men. Hate speech, hate on the internet comes mainly from men, up to and including mansplaining. So when men explain something without being asked, without making sure whether the person opposite them knows better on the topic. For all these phenomena, you can see here in the image, the term toxic masculinity has been established, and it is a wonderful term to accelerate the criticism of masculinities. I use the term here so transparently to make it clear how invisible toxic masculinity is for most men. So why is it so invisible for us? A male philosopher once said, quote, "Male domination is so deeply rooted in our subconscious that we no longer perceive it at all." So abuse of power by men is a structural problem. It means the male-dominated structures and institutions are the problem. The term from sociology for this is structural violence. And yeah, because it is so invisible to men, we make the experience that it makes sense to count through first, to make men realize how male-dominated the world really is. So most men seriously believe that we would have achieved de facto equality long ago, like, you know, comments like, show me in the law where women still don't have equal rights and so on. So that is very common in Germany. But yeah, none of us here will ever experience de facto equality again. According to estimates by UN Women, this could take another 300 years with the current patriarchy, probably 500 years and more. So counting men's alliances is a very effective method to start a conversation with men about patriarchal relations. I would love to get your thoughts on this topic later. So here are a few facts and figures that you can imagine what I mean by that. Not a single European country de facto equality not a single European country de facto equality has already been achieved, neither in the parliaments nor in the rest of society. In the German Bundestag, the already far too low proportion of women fell from 35 to 32% after the election. So yeah, we work primarily with DEI officers and diversity managers who all report that when they write equality or feminism on their flyers, men do not feel addressed at all. So it's a women's issue, okay, for men. For men, it's always a women's issue. So it can help to turn the wording around. We are not naming the proportion of men, but the proportion of women, but the proportion of men, for example, to show that there are too many of us. We are the problem. So the proportion of men in the German federal parliament, in this example, is now rising from 65 to 68%. We are not talking about a women's quota, for example. No, we demand a limit for men. Then the men are on fire. Suddenly, every man wants to say, you should try it. It works very well. But also, although women are the losers in our last election, we have mainly younger women to thank for the fact that Germany has not slipped completely to the right. What about regional policy? 91% of municipalities and cities in Germany are run by men. 91%. We have more mayors who are called Thomas than female mayors. And yeah, why does the German administration have such a bad reputation? Could it possibly be because it is mainly run by men? In the editorial offices of German regional newspapers, by the way, are sitting 18% of them are men, in case you ever wondered why our news coverage is flooded day in, day out with male politics and male soccer. So here's an example from the international politics. That here you can see the CEO lunch at the security conference in Munich 2 years ago. Only the famous old white men were present, and yeah, nobody noticed, not a single one of them noticed that half of the population was not sitting at the table and not allowed to have a say. That's how invisible it is for men to see that. So the big goal must be to break up male-dominated party structures and to create diversity, because wherever it is predominantly men cling to the levels of power, things often look very bleak in terms of domestic and foreign policy. From the autocrats in China to the Republicans under Putin and Musk, to the conservative and right-wing parties here in Germany, the proportion of men in the Conservative Party, CDU-CSU here, is now 77%. 77% male-dominated, and the AfD, that is our right-wing party, it is 88%. 88% men in the party. So what else can I say? From politics to economy, what about the richest of the rich? Top 10 billionaires are male. You heard of all of them, from the chainsaw man who saw away at democracy, to the petromen who cling to fossil fuels and deny climate change. Petromasculinity comes from petroleum. So here's a good book on the subject. The board of directors of most international companies, there is still a clear surplus of men. Here, for example, you see the management board of the Swiss logistic company Kühn & Nagel. And how blindly and ignorantly many men react to the topic of equality. This classic of corporate communication shows we see 5 board members of the real estate group Engel & Völkers who proudly announce that they talked about women, of course, during their meeting on International Women's Day, especially about their female role models. So I would have loved to have been there, lol. The photo is also remarkable. We see 5 real estate sharks here, surfing with a kind of life raft over the gray roofs of Hamburg. Hamburg appears here like a post-apocalyptic wasteland. So it was a perfect template for the perfect shitstorm. Why is it so invisible for men? Why are they doing that? What is it? Come on. So the best known of all male abuse cultures is the Catholic Church. It is a nightmare for those affected how the churchmen deal with it. The world's largest men's organization, mostly white men's organization, is so powerful that it can even evade prosecution by the state. So instead, they realize they relativized, denied, and kept silent. This is why we also speak of male cultures of silence and blockade, cultures of intransparency, abuse cultures. So from the police to the Bundeswehr, so our army, from the FIFA to DAX, wherever men keep to themselves, toxic monocultures develop. And they are to stay in the picture. Poison for gender diversity, poison for social relationships, poison for diverse narratives and for cultural richness. So what can we do against male dominance? Here you see the numbers about male violence in Germany. To the right side, you see the men by 83%, and to the left side, the women with 16%. So what can we do against this male dominance? Point 1, counting. So since the Me Too debate, men's circles no longer remain hidden. Male power dynamics, femicides, misogyny, sexism, everything is made visible and recognized and named as male violence. The criticism of masculinities has gained enormous momentum and is increasingly holding men accountable. So point 2, I would recommend that criticism of patriarchy from first grade on. We must educate our boys about masculinity as early as possible, educate and raise them in a feminist way so that they don't swallow more red pills and grow up to become new men's coaches and Andrew Tates and anti-feminists. So criticism and masculinity as a subject of study at universities and colleges, as mandatory continuing education in companies and institutions. On point 3, it is, I always repeat and always say, it is our job to break up male monocultures. It is our job as men and to leave them behind. It is not the job of women and queer people. It shouldn't be. Men must finally stand up for queer and feminine people and take to the streets and fight for the rights. So these are my thoughts on male structures. Let's now take step higher to the representative level and come to man's fantasies. How is masculinity portrayed in series and films? So the most dominant of all portrayals is that of the so-called body armor, okay? That is steeled male bodies, many muscles, rigid movements, very taciturn. All Superman have body armor and possess superheroic powers. Their superhuman abilities are in truth super male abilities. Superhero fantasies negotiate male superiority, negotiate male supremacy. So that means only we men can save the humanity, but save us from what? Who exactly is the enemy? Aren't we men ourselves the biggest threat to humanity, maybe? Women in particular constantly need to be rescued by men. Why is that? The famous male savior complex. So there's no universe and no women out there who hasn't been rescued by a man without being asked. This trope is so dominant that the most beautiful peace should have reigned everywhere by now, but unfortunately, we don't get to see how to live in peace. Instead, male-driven screenplays and movies are becoming increasingly darker and more violent. Because a male-dominated series and film industry, by definition, cannot emotional narratives. So that's why we also speak of male monotony. There is nothing in this world more limited than the imagination of man. In a male-dominated film and series industry, action and violence act and superhero stories act like a curse or a paralyzing male curse that no one can escape, from boys to men. So John Wick, maybe you've seen it, is an excellent example for this. In just 4 films, John Wick killed a total of 439 people, 439 people, mostly men. So the real reason, that could also be a way to kill the patriarchy on the long term. But yeah, the real reason is his dog. Someone killed his dog. That is all. That is the entire plot. The extreme lack of imagination in male screenplays. Male body armors, here to see again in John Wick, are under enormous pressure and thus becomes killing machines and mass murderers. So they don't talk, they fight, and they kill. What I'm getting at is we all didn't grow up with male role models who would have shown us how to resolve conflicts through conversation. Instead, they go into battle, into the defense. A new counterpart to muscle power that comes without any armor can be seen, for example, in Disney's Encanto. Here you can see Louisa, the gigantic muscle lady. Disney, of course, also offered Louisa as a doll, as a real-life doll. Only the doll wasn't muscular, but slimely built. A thin build, like a Barbie doll. The result was that the kids didn't buy Louisa and Disney was stuck with it. So things are moving in children's rooms as well. We can see that here. The second very dominant form of representation besides body armor is that of the creature. So I want to speak about monsters, mutants, zombies, aliens, and so on, are all specifically male representations. This one is even called the venom, which means poison, spite, malice, and drips down on Tom Hardy as black tar liquid. Currently, probably the most extreme representation of toxic masculinity in the form of a creature that I know of. Creatures negotiate emotional speechlessness of man, the creaturely inner being of man that creates this pressure in the body armor. So here you can see Will Smith as an alien hunter in Men in Black, in a kind of a father moment with an alien creature. So what is the most powerful and successful male narrative? The most successful male narrative ever is the so-called absent father narrative. So that is the story of the absent father and the ordeal of the sons from Christianity through the adventures of Hercules to Darth Vader and his Death Star, like you can see here. What I mean by that is that in most male screenplays, the relationship with the father is always highly problematic. So, no idea where my father is. He just left us. He was always just working all the day. He's currently building a Death Star, and so on and so on. What men all have to do. And this pain, this loss, this longing leads the boys to embark on a famous search, on the famous male heroic path. So they're becoming a man. Their becoming a man is sold to us as a great adventure, but in truth only shows how these kids are becoming radicalized. And when Luke Skywalker has finally defeated his father, Darth Vader takes off his mask, looks his son in the eyes on the last time, and dies. So at the moment when the dads finally have the opportunity to get to know their sons, to be emotionally present, to be caring, to load the dishwasher together, whatever, right then a universe pops up somewhere that needs to be saved again. The millionth war breaks out, or you just die quickly to escape. So according to the male script, even one's own death is more desirable than care work and mental load and care work and mental load. A series with 10 seasons about men who are parenting. So unfortunately, we'll have to wait a while for that because, in German, because film and TV shows only can show what the reality is about. In German, reality only 25% of all fathers take 3 months of parental leave. 3 months, only 2.5% take more than 12 months parental leave. So if you come across a father here in Germany with a baby in his arms, it's statistically Sunday. So there are a few young fathers here in Germany as well who want to do things differently and do better, but that's not yet reflected in the numbers. Beware of men with men. Yeah.
Sorry, maybe you need to just give a context of how many months fathers are allowed to go on parental leave. Because in Kenya, that's 10 days. And I think in Germany, we are looking at 1.5 years if you share it with your partner?
I think it's 3 years in total if you share it with your partner. Mm-hmm. And in Sweden, for example, it's like they have the rule that you only can take parental leave for 2 years, I think, if you share it. So if everybody in the relationship is taking 50-50, for example. Yeah, here in Germany, it's 3 years, I think, if I'm not wrong. Yeah. So by men only. Is that clear? Did you hear me? Did you answer me?
No, that was it. I just wanted for our participants to have the context because in
in Kenya is it 10 days?
10 days.
10 days. Okay, wow. You're not allowed to take more than that? Okay, wow. So you have no chance. It's a structural problem. It's a huge problem that men are not taking care and taking part in care work and everything. We can talk about that later. So there are a few young fathers here in Germany who want to do things differently and better, but that's not yet reflected in the numbers. I already said that. Beware of men with masks. Beware of men with dual identities. I'm thinking of the Joker, Batman, Daredevil currently. We are dealing with masculinity's lacking of emotional integrity here mostly. All of them are also male victim narratives. The Joker, for example, is portrayed as the ultimate male victim. Man's new superpowers are now self-pity and pain intolerance. So 2015's Joker was the greatest spectacle of man's torment that the world has ever seen, I think. Similar to adolescence currently, The focus is again on the perpetrator, on the father, on the many boys and men, and on the fact that we should finally understand why they kill women, why they hate women, why. The murdered girls story is not told. The suffering of her parents is not told. We learn nothing about sexist structures, not a word about patriarchal power and violence dynamics, nothing. So yeah, in a male-dominated world, however, interest in the perpetrators is enormously successful. Adolescence is the most streamed Netflix series within 2 weeks. So if you want to see what toxic masculinity really looks like, and above all, how to best dispose of it, watch Bad Sisters. It's the best series of all time, I think. And yeah, I later show you where you can find it. Now let's get into practice, into my last part, into the question, what can we as men do to behave in a self-critical and feminist way? So let's begin with a quote from Virginia Woolf. I will translate it for you. She said once, men don't perceive the world because they believe they are the world. Men don't perceive the world because they believe they are the world. So she addresses two important things here. First, men are equal to man. After 6,000 years of patriarchy, most men can no longer distinguish between the male and human perspectives on the world. In other words, if I, as a man, cannot see a problem, then everyone else has no problems either. So, and secondly, Wolf is talking about male privilege here. So yeah, we have learned that it makes little sense to ask men about their privileges. We can try that later, but yeah, even in a room full of highly privileged men, you wouldn't get an answer for that. So what exactly are male privileges? The greatest privileges for men are men's clubs, men's networks, male monocultures. So men have it so much easier in Germany in life. They start right at the finish line, because the second greatest privilege for men here in Germany is the unpaid work of women. The unpaid work of women in Germany currently amounts to 826 billion euros per year. 826 billion euros per year. That is the foundation upon which German men built their careers and seriously believe they achieved it all on their own. For women, however, this financial dependence has fatal consequences. According to a study by the German Trade Union Confederation, 53% of all working women cannot live off their income in the long term. 53% of all working German women cannot live off their income in the long term. That is more than every second woman in Germany. If they have to care for a child, the number is even higher at 70%. So yeah, unfortunately, we hear nothing from men about this here in Germany, only the distant rippling of male ignorance. So to date, I haven't encountered a single man in our seminars who has expressed his anger about these numbers, or at least dismay, compassion. How about an apology? Nothing. Deafening, rippling, but the silence of man is reliably followed by a storm, by indignation, by male defense strategies. So here you can see a bullshit bingo. It's in German, but I will translate for you from a sorority in Vienna that shows typical defense strategies that men use to react on criticism or to the term toxic masculinity. So when I work with older men, for example, I can thwart this after 5 minutes and shout bingo. So for example, we have here, you can see here, don't we have more important problems? Hey, that was just a compliment. Hey, can't we even flirt anymore? Or here on the bottom right, you can see, yes, but not all men. Yes, but not all men. The famous not all men argument comes in various forms. When I ask the participants in our seminars, for example, to name a few men's groups in which they were socialized, whereupon the men proudly report how they grew up almost exclusively in a female environment. Or recently, very well, I said, hey, I would like to talk critically about masculinity today and not about women or queer people, okay? So someone in the front row speaks up and asks, have you ever looked into matriarchy? research, matriarchy research. So that was strange as well. Another defense strategy, also very popular and slightly passive-aggressive mix of not all men and mansplaining. Quote, I'm sure only men who are already dealing with it, dealing with the topic, come to you, but how can we reach the men who are really affected, okay? So that always means we are the good guys, we are not toxic, we are not the problem. So, and here's a classic on the subject. I quote, toxic masculinity is all well and good, but there's also toxic femininity. What do you say about that? So away from the topic, away from yourself towards women, towards the others. And yeah, man's ability to accept criticism is a huge problem. We can, if you like, we can talk about that later. The male emotional discourse can become another defense strategy, male defense strategy. So many men today believe it would be completely sufficient, at least attempt to develop a differentiated emotional language. Most men demand this emotional work from their partners instead of taking care of it themselves. And those who don't have partners, for example, in Germany, you can book men's coaches or join a man's camp in the woods. So here you see the so-called Rudel, so it's the pack, the wolf pack in English. So of course, yes, structural violence, patriarchy or feminism isn't even mentioned there. So, but what is the point? What is the point talking about your feelings with other guys if you're going back to your men's circles afterwards? You know, this kind of emotional discourse among men often only serves the purpose of reinforcing male bonding. So countless Andrew Tates everywhere who shout their misogyny as a business model into the world and into the forest. I also see another danger in another defense strategy in the therapy discourse. Masculinity doesn't need to be treated or doesn't need to be cured. Masculinity is not an illness. Masculinity, you cannot therapize. You cannot heal masculinity because it's not an illness. It is socially constructed, you know. Moreover, men very easily manage to steer the discussion back to themselves and their problems if they want to talk about their feelings. So, in other words, we will certainly not overcome the patriarchy by men learning to talk about their feelings. That is an important part, but we need to talk about the structure problems, the violence problems, the femicides, and so on, the sexism. Another defense strategy can be when men express concerns, not because the violence against women and queer people affects them so deeply, but because they themselves suffer so greatly from everything. So yes, exactly. No one wants to talk about that. Men are discriminated against everywhere too. So yeah, no stop. In a patriarchal system, men experience disadvantages at worst, but certainly not discrimination. Beware of this discourse of being affected because it often simply leads directly to a discourse of being a victim. It's a fine line. So yeah, we often hear that we shouldn't scare men away. We shouldn't overwhelm them with the topic of critical masculinity. Rather, we want to engage them and show them what they can also gain from the topic. So one word to that problem, the movie director Katharina Mückstein once offered a good analogy. She once said, hey, what man can gain from engaging with feminism should never be the question. In a seminar critical of racism, she said, I, as a white person, wouldn't ask, what do I gain from engaging with racism, right? So queer and women's rights are human rights, and that is the reason to get involved in them. And are the countless Trumps, Putins, Höckes in the world even thinking about whether they are frightening us too much every day or overwhelming us? Not for a second. On the contrary, they are flooding the zone with shit. They are flooding and overrunning us with their lies, with their chaos, with their malice and with violence against women and queer people. So the trial of Gisèle Pellico's 51 rapists. I don't know if you heard of that. There was a woman in France who was raped by 51 men, and she went public in the court, and she showed us all that not only the man. That not only most of the men lived within a few kilometers of each other and of her, but also that they came from all social backgrounds, milieus, and professions. So she said the most remembered words for this trial. She said, quote, "The shame must switch sides," Pellicot demanded. So this is directed at us men. We are the problem. We are all toxic, and we are all guilty of if we continue to remain silent, block, downplay, or become defensive. Most men benefit from patriarchal structures like never before here in Germany and in Europe, yet at the same time feel discriminated against, speak of man hatred, and wallow in victimhood narratives and epidemics of loneliness. So yeah, men rarely speak out about the real epidemics like femicide, domestic violence, and sexism against women and queer people. So these are the real epidemics, and we men are responsible for this. Yeah, thanks for listening. Here you can see a graphic where I want to show, maybe it helps us a little bit for the discussion now. Where you can see that it's a pyramid of sexual abuse against women and queer people, and that with every sexist joke on the ground here, we support the system as men and keep it upright. So so much for our work, our thesis, and the current state of the discussion here in Europe. I would be very interested to hear from you about the role masculinity plays in your everyday lives. And but first, yeah, do you have any general questions about this? Is there anything in the chat? And I have some questions too. Yeah, tell me. Thank you for listening.
Thanks, Christoph. The chat is not yet active, but
Right. Okay, cool.
we haven't lost any participant. They have all been
Perfect.
astonished by what you have been telling us and showing
It
us.
was a lot of information. Sorry, but yeah, we just have so less time, so I just wanted to pick most of it into it. So yeah.
That's great. Thank you so much. I think it would now just be beautiful if we could contextualize some of these things that you have just been sharing with us into what we are experiencing here in Kenya, especially led by our mentees, because obviously you have touched on a number of really severe topics, starting with male display in media, going down to power abuse in offices, sexual assaults, which are just accepted, or even gender distribution in decision-making places, may it be boardrooms, may it be corporates, may it be places where women should be, but they somehow aren't. And then also the very important topic of receiving female support in the home space and never really talking about it or publicly appreciating it. You can just hope that appreciation is happening at least on household level, but rarely ever publicly. So if we could somehow look for this conversation now with those who are in the room, and bring all of these impressions that we just gained from your presentation into our local context, and then try and see which behaviors have to change in order to make this a more appreciated space from men to women.
I would love to learn more about your local situation. And but first, do you have any general questions about this? Can you raise your hand, or can you write something in the chat, just to make sure everything was clear so far? Let's just wait a second.
Yeah. So for those who have been listening keenly, which was, I think, all of us, whatever is on the tip of your tongue right now, whatever you would like to get off your chest.
Okay.
Exactly. Please share with us. May that be in writing in the chat, or may that be through raising your voice, whatever is circulating in your mind.
Speak freely. Yeah. What is the workload? What was your mental load? What do we expect from men? How can we as men implement this? That would be my questions. Oh, there's a question in the chat. Yeah.
Yes, Sarah is sharing that she thanks the realization that masculinity is not a disease.
Yeah, it is not. Yeah. Do you have the same discussion in your place? That we hear a lot of men talking about, we just need to learn to talk about emotions, and we can heal masculinity. And there's a positive version of masculinity and so on. Of course there is, but we should always remind us that it's socially constructed, and that it's not a therapy lesson to overcome patriarchal structures. Yeah. Because what I noticed in our seminars, often noticed, it took me a while to check this, but of course it should be possible in our seminars. There should be room for the men and for the. We always work with mixed groups, by the way. We try to not work with only men groups, but maybe later more on this. But yeah, there should be room for emotions, for sharing emotions and feelings in the group. But if my task is to contextualize the emotions, to ask, where does it come from that it's so hard for you to talk about feelings, for example? Why are most of the boys here in Germany and worldwide are struggling so much with talking about their emotions? And because if I notice that men want to speak about their emotions but don't want to speak about feminism and patriarchy, then what can happen is that it's just another defense strategy to talk about, to derail the discourse into their things, into their perspective, and not into the structures. You know what I mean? The bonding, as I explained earlier, is the male bonding is in the worst case getting more stronger and stronger in this discourse. So I have to check this dynamics in the seminars as well. Please tell me anything about your situation. What about masculinity in your local environment, and how do you reflect as men, for example, your own masculinity and the masculinity of your friends, of your colleagues, and so on? How do we men support the co-ops and the work of our partners, female partners and queer partners? And any ideas on that? Any words on that you want to talk about?
Maybe we can break all of this down a little bit further. For instance, we have very gently touched on parental policies and what is provided from a state perspective to fathers of new children, right? We have compared 10 years versus 3 years as you were speaking. But there's also obviously the opportunities to create policies which are drafted within the corporates themselves. That is now policy making in cooperatives. If we feel that there is a let's say a parenthood, an increase in new fathers, let's say, and they would have the desire to go away on leave for longer without losing their benefits. How would that be perceived?
Yeah.
Or, yeah, so we can, whatever we have heard from Christoph during his presentation, we can break it down further, and for sure we can also take it into a leadership space. Which, let's say, malfunction when it comes to masculinity and feminism do we experience in leadership spaces, in the spaces that our mentees actually want to occupy? Is there things that should change for us to feel more equal, for instance? I often have a feeling that if let's say I enter a conference room and the conference room is full of guys, they're doing the same job like I do, but I don't feel equal when I enter this room.
Yeah.
And those are the topics we can discuss about in the remaining half an hour, so that we bring this closer to our context, and we it's not about shaming the other gender. It's about creating a room
No,
that
of course not. Yeah.
equal space for all of us. So if there are experiences that participants would like to share, or even my colleagues, then I'm very happy. We are very happy to accommodate that.
We can ask the man in the room, is there anything you would like to ask your female colleagues here, or the women here, what we can do better, how we can change, how we can support them, or I would like to ask the women in the room, that's why we came together today, if you want to share your experience and your stories and your questions on men, and what you would recommend we as men can do better than just be feel safe to share it here with us.
Like throughout the the mentorship program, we have often heard contributions where ladies would be telling us, when I open my mouth in a forthcoming way, it's perceived naughty, it's perceived, let's say, beyond limits. Whereas if a guy does the same thing, you're sitting in the same room, occupying the same role, it's perceived to be okay, it's perceived to be confident, it's perceived to be just the way it should be. So those are the differences we have discussed about in the past, that we are, as ladies, often, let's say, confronted with certain behavioral norms which don't seem to apply in the same way for men. And
do you share that? Do you share that experience a little bit, or Sarah, or what Madeleine said?
Yes, Sarah, if you feel ready to talk, then you can just do that. Thank you, Sarah. I can see your hand is up.
All right, thank you. I appreciate what our consultant has come in. For me, I think what I'm summing up from all the discussions that are happening is that gender stereotypes will always be with us. Like the concept of being male and female is not something we can completely delink. But what I've picked as my takeaway is that for you to be able to stand up and be counted like as an intelligible leader, you will always be expected to rise above the aspect of male or female when you're making decisions or when you're leading, because at the end of the day, that is premised on someone's ability and not necessarily their gender. So At my SACCO, because you've also encouraged us to give experiences, for example, at my cooperative, majority of the board members and even staff are female, which goes far beyond the threshold that maybe in Kenya is championed for, which is the 2/3. But does that necessarily mean that we are in conflict? No, actually, we work very well together. So I feel like this particular discourse about femininity or masculinity should just be pegged on the fact that at the end of the day, we all have different inputs. And if we are willing to work together, then we'll be fine. Thank you.
Okay, so you said thank you for sharing that. So you shared that masculinity or toxic masculinity is not a problem at all at your workspace and in working together. You don't have
At
to.
my
You didn't
at
make
my
any
place of work
experiences
or
with
at the
that.
cooperative, yes, it's not an issue for us.
Okay, cool. It's good to hear. Great. Why do you think that has happened? How do you make that possible? So can you share that with me? Because yeah, I would really love to hear about that. What was your method to gain such a safe environment?
I'll say, but I'm not in a position of authority to speak because I am just but a small component of that. The chairman of my SACCO is in attendance, so maybe he'd be best placed to comment if he feels comfortable to. But I think basically from the outlook is that it's never come out as an issue because someone is qualified, so they vied for an election. The members chose this person. It had got nothing to do with their specific gender. It had more to do with how they packaged themselves, how competitive the election were, and equally so for staff. If there's a call for application for a particular job placement, yes, there ought to be like a balance. But then again, if I and you go for an interview and I happen to do better than you, crossing over the threshold that was required, I wouldn't be necessarily stigmatized because of my gender. So I think it's just how it is. So it's not something we've sat and said, oh, we are looking at situations where we want more women to be like this or more men to be like this. It's just the job and we're looking to get it done. So I think that I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, the answer is very good. Thank you so much. So you don't see any structural patriarchal problems here. So for you, everything is quite working out if you ask for the ability and not for the gender. Or you think gender is still playing a role somehow, somewhere, somehow unconscious and in the background somehow, I don't know, in power dynamics, or not at all. What would you say?
Was that directed to me specifically?
Yeah.
Okay, you broke off a little bit, so please repeat.
So you don't think there is a power? There isn't any problem with patriarchal or male-dominated structure dynamics in the background or somehow that people are kind of. It's only about the ability, and if you are able or not able to do it, then you are in or out. And or do you think these gender power dynamics work more in the background, more subtle, more unconscious somehow, or not at all? That would be my question.
Okay, I got your question now. I think for me, because it's context specific, I've never felt it. I've never felt like, for example, my chairman wouldn't listen to me because of my gender, but that's just at the cooperative. Is that the same case for the entire country? Of course not. So I was just speaking about a specific tangible context. That's my cooperative.
What is the situation in the country? Do you have some numbers, or can you explain that to me? Besides your workplace or your location, your situation, to give me a more detailed picture about that, about your numbers somehow. If
I'll
possible,
poke my
please.
colleagues so that they can also contribute to this debate. So I'll poke the rest of my colleagues as well.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for everything. Yeah. Anyone has an idea for that? Anyone can explain to me how the situation in around you is with femicide, sexism, I don't know, violence at workplace, at home. Madeleine, do you have some numbers, or you want to share anything?
I think what we can do as well is to just have a conversation about why is female membership in cooperatives so low. Like if in theory there is nothing between a woman and a membership in a cooperative, because cooperatives are grounded in certain principles, and one of the principles is free and voluntary membership, so it's open to everyone. But at the same time, we can see in a drastic way that 70% of all cooperative members are men, and only 30 are women. So I just try to somehow cross-check with the contents that you have given us. For instance, you were talking about gentlemen's clubs or like closed spaces for men, and that seemed to be a prohibitive area for women. And I wonder whether some of the contents that you've shared with us might also be partially the reason why we just don't get enough women into these cooperatives. And again, that's a question that we can share with those who are members of the cooperatives, which is, I think, everybody in this among our 26 participants is a cooperative member somehow. So maybe we can have a conversation along this. What could be a reason that we are witnessing barriers for accessing? Yes, Francis.
Go ahead, please, Francis.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much for this presentation. I think the context with which... Hello?
Hello, you're welcome. I understand you. Sorry,
Yes.
I just wanted to say
Thank
you're
you,
welcome.
thank you, thank you. Thank you so much. Now, the context with which you are put in the German context, and it is also applicable. It's also applicable in Kenya. And majorly, if you see in the cooperative sector, and it is the only industry that operates on principles. We have the 7 principles of cooperatives. And then just the way Madeleine, she has put it, that voluntary entry and voluntary exit, there is also what we call equity among members. You will find at the end of the day, in terms of population-wise, you will also see in the cooperative sector, in terms of population, you will find that the membership is also dominated by women. By women, only that they are curtailed by one, that culturally, and others at the same time lack of exposure and willingness to compete for these positions. Otherwise, the way to go is capacity build, the way FLEP has done it, for us to be able to work with what we call, we start with the brain. We start with the brain to make them know that they equally stand a chance to lead. And you will find in Kenya, it is only some sections. If you go to, for instance, if you come to Rift Valley, that culturally...
Sorry, if you come to the what?
Hello?
Sorry, if you come to the what? To Rift Valley, what does it mean?
When you come to Rift Valley, where I'm based in Rift Valley, I'm the regional manager, Cusco Rift Valley region. If you'll find that I crisscross like the Narok, Masai Mara, those are places who are they still feel women don't stand and make a decision in the cooperative sector. And those are some of the areas that if we earmark and also help in terms of capacity build, we'll be able to have gains in terms of getting women in leadership. Thank you. That's my contribution.
Thank you so much. Madeleine, can you help me a little bit for some parts I didn't understand? Maybe can you help me again, please?
Yes. So Francis,
I
was
think I
saying,
understand most of it, but yeah.
yeah, Francis was saying that indeed cooperatives are led by values, which is a unique feature compared to any other form of making business. And he is saying that he also supports our observation that female leadership is, female membership is very low. And he says that the way out would be to capacity build, so basically to train and to educate women about the opportunities of taking up these spaces.
Oh, right. Okay.
Now, reverse, you would say there was obviously a head start of men getting that level of education, because otherwise the men would not be in the cooperatives in those large numbers. So my question here would then be, if we say, let's just educate the women and then they will come, does that point at an unequal treatment in the past? Because if let's say in a natural demographic development, we would now look at a situation where membership would be 50-50, because we can say overall the society is 50-50. But that's not the case. So there might have been, and then there's Francis also shared that there are regions within Kenya where cultural norms are not very accommodative when it comes to participating in decision-making spaces or participating in activities which might be outside the household or outside the community.
All right. Okay. Cool. Can I ask the women in the room if you are d'accord with that, or what your experiences with I don't know, working in male-dominated spaces or even applying for jobs there, or do you think we should teach the women more how to more function in a male-dominated environment, or should we teach more the men and the boys how to create a safe space for a diverse space for the women? What do you think on that? For instance, can you imagine that women, I don't know, that some women maybe are, I don't know, for some women it's not an option to work in a male-dominated working environment, for example. Can you imagine that it's quite hard for them to think about that and to apply there? Are you still there, Francis?
Maybe that's even a question that can go to everybody, just in case Francis can't hear us right now. Do you believe that let's say in a cooperative environment, in your cooperative, in your circles, in your other cooperatives, if there is just a lot of men right now and it's a very male-dominated space, does it make harder for women to try and get in? Is that maybe a feeling of let's say, almost a feeling of a challenge to say, I want to enter that space, even though I can see it's male dominated? Or is it maybe the reverse effect when women say, oof, seems to be really full of men. Let me rather not get involved. Are there observations like this that you saw in the past, where it can just be really overwhelming for women if there are just so many men involved? Or is that something where you feel with the right personal attitude and the right confident mindset, you can overcome these sort of feelings? What's your thinking?
Francis, Richard, John, do you have any thoughts of that? Or Keita or Christine? Are you there? Are you listening?
Thank you. This is John. Let me just contribute a bit.
Hey, John. How are
Yes,
you?
thank you very much. I think it should not be a gender issue. It should be a leadership issue because you find yourself sometime being elected because of your capability of doing something, not really because you are a woman or a man. So those are the things we need to be looking at, especially in our cooperative sectors. As Sarah said, she comes from my cooperative, my SACCO, where we don't have any policy of how many women or men should be elected, but it is the capability of how somebody can do the work in the cooperative. Out of 12 board members we have only four men, and the rest are women. That is 8. So those are
how many women are there?
8 out of 12.
8.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
So and we have only 4 men. So it was we don't have any policy of how we elect through gender or anything. It is just how you can able to do the work and how you can convince the members. And our members majority are almost 50-50, 50 men and 50 women. So we do a lot of we do election, and I think we should not look at in an issue of gender in that way. It is how somebody can do the work and capability they can do. That's my contribution.
Okay, cool.
Thank you. Our other mentees in the room, the cooperatives where you work or where you're active as a leader or as an employee, do you have similar experiences and similar, like, let's say, a similar occupancy of female positions? Or are there maybe cooperative examples here where, unfortunately, the gender experiences are a little bit different?
That's a great question. Would you share that with us, please?
There's also a lovely idea from, I think that's Maggie. Let's redefine leadership together and make space for sensitivity, for shared decisions, and for listening with the heart.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we should all listen with the heart and talk with the heart. And
hello.
yeah, hello. How are you?
Can you hear me?
What is your name
Yes,
again? Sorry.
Yes, we can hear you very well.
I cannot hear him. Can you hear him?
No, it's silent again, unfortunately.
Who was it?
Can't tell.
Martin, was it you? Wasn't it you, Martin? No.
Okay, maybe maybe our contributor comes back, but let's go back to what we've just started. Are there other examples in the room where you have experienced yourself or you have witnessed, let's say, unfair treatment from men to women? May that be in your workspace, may it be on your commuter route, because lots of us are using public transport to get to work or to get to our spaces where we are. Did you experience any form of let's say, unfair treatment, discrimination, and would you have loved to tell those people who might have done that to you? Is there any experiences we want to share maybe in this direction? Or for those of us who are parents to boy children? what's the picture that we want to give? What's the image that we want to nurture within our children? Is that an image of repeating a masculinity which is informed by, like we said earlier, by extreme understandings of values or extreme understandings of solving conflicts? Or is that maybe a way of bringing up our kids which can be looked at as well? Because I believe many of us here are currently raising children.
Thank you for helping me out here. I can add to that. Here in Germany, but also in the women NBA basketball, or in the, I don't know if you have seen the World Championship in soccer in Australia and New Zealand, or in the European soccer thing in Switzerland last month. What I found it really interesting that you could see boys in the age of 7, 8 to 12 years old running on the field after the games trying to get signatures. How do you say?
Autographs, I guess.
Autographs, yeah, autographs. Thank you so much. Autographs from the female players, and what that showed me was, okay, it's only about the question what we show, how we with which role models are we growing up with, and that young boys can absolutely have female role models. So my question would be further, have your boys and have you female or queer role models you would like to share that we don't know or you grew up with? So, and do you think boys should have more female role models in their lives? What do you think?
Okay, I would also want to say, this is Catherine.
Hey, Catherine, how are you?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. How are you?
Okay, just as Mr. John Sigay had just mentioned earlier, that we should not really lean on the gender thing, because if we say that we are rooting mainly for ladies or for women, there are men also who maybe you can find that maybe there are some cooperatives where the number of female ladies in the cooperative leadership are higher than those of men. So you might find that there are some men who would feel like maybe we are leaning on one side too much, that we don't really consider men, just because it has always been a norm that men would always dominate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What about the care work?
I think we should just have that gender equality when it comes to leadership.
Okay, I totally agree. What do you think about gender equality? Can you tell me something about the gender equality in the household and the care work? Are most of the men who are here today, are they working? Are they doing their fair share of care work at home, or raising kids, etc., or doing the dishes and the mental load, buying stuff and so? Can you share something with me? How's your situation on this, please? Catherine, if you like.
Okay, on my end, I would say it's balanced, because I have a male child also. In the house, I wouldn't really say that we have chores for ladies and those for men. So I always tend to also he practices. When he sees my daughter doing something, you'll see that he's also eager to get to do what the sister is doing, just because I've taught him that it is not only that ladies are the only ones who can wash the dishes and all that, because if I say that it's only meant for the ladies, maybe he will never want to get to do it. So gender balance, that is where now I get to teach him also that there is equality. Yeah.
What are the chores, especially for boys, and what are the chores the girls more doing? What do you think?
Mostly it is always known, like for example, you'd say that girls are meant to maybe wash the dishes, have to prepare meals and all that. So men, like boys, are only meant to maybe, they would sit around, play football or do something else, even in the games, be involved in other things apart from house chores. So I tend to teach him also how to get involved and know that it is not only meant for the girls. He might be living alone. Let's say he'll grow up to be a gentleman. Does he need to, like, if he knows how to do the house chores, it would be even better for him.
Can I ask,
Yes.
thanks for sharing, do you have a male partner at home, or are you raising your kids alone?
Yes, I have a male partner.
And what is he doing? Is he a role model as well in these? Is he doing the same thing as you that you are doing by teaching the boys and so? Yeah, cool.
Yes, it does.
So you try to live
we
in
also
equal
get
and
chores with him also. Like right now, I have I'm a new mom. I have a new baby. So maybe when I'm held up, I don't really, he doesn't really have to wait for me to do all the chores, like maybe prepare dinner and all that, because I've been with the baby the whole day. He'll just get in and start doing the preparing dinner and all that.
without asking, he's just doing it, and he's just seeing it and helping you, and that's not a problem at all. Okay, cool. Thanks for sharing, and congratulations on your new baby, and bless you, baby.
Thank you.
We've entered a very important conversation.
Francis want to add something. Oh.
Yeah, cool.
Sorry. Francis, what do you think? What do you want to share? Feel free to talk.
Yes. Now, I know. Let me pick from where CK has left in terms of leadership. It's always good to talk about the gender, because the greatest percentage of our institutions, of our cooperatives, it actually depends on where this cooperative is situated. Those cooperatives which are situated in urban areas, they tend to have more women, men and women who, in terms of literacy, they understand their job. But if you find those cooperatives which are in far-flung areas, the remote areas, you will find at the end of the day it are male dominated in terms of leadership, unless they are asked, what about gender? What about gender disparity? That's the time now they say, let us give a lady. Let us give a lady. So it would actually depend on where you come from and where this institution is placed. Where is it domiciled? Second, again, you asked about the children in terms of the boys. The boys where we come from, there is some at times there is some other areas, there are some work which are actually demarcated for girls and others are demarcated for boys. But with the current world, we want to bring our children in such a way that we create an inclusivity. We bring them in a way that they are human. We bring them with cohesiveness, such that at the end of the day, we strike a balance on what we bring them to understand that we are all equal, and we can still perform the same duties that it is felt like it is meant for men, or it is meant for ladies. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for sharing. But why do you think if you are raising, that would be my question, if you're raising everybody equal, then why do you think the structures in the cooperative and everywhere is still male dominated? What do you think? Why do you think that is?
That is why I've said it will depend with where this particular maybe cooperative is placed.
Where is it situated? Okay.
Yeah, where it is situated. Because if you see like places like West Pokot, there are circle called Ecopila. You will also still, the ladies are in leadership, but few. But it is still male dominated. Maybe in a board in a board of maybe 12 board members, you will find at the end of the day maybe there are two or one lady or two ladies in the leadership. So in terms of percentage, it is still male dominated based on the where they are situated.
Okay. I think I understand. Yeah, thank you.
There's interesting contributions going on in the chat as well, Christoph.
Yeah, let me check the chat. Okay. In most parts of the country, masculinity has been regarded as pride, and traditionally men were trusted with leadership positions and difficult roles thanks to awareness campaigns on gender parity and equality. That has demystified the masculinity and unlocked the potential of the both genders. On my view, I think we should embrace masculinity and appreciate the responsibility that comes with it, build confidence, and offer support without bias. It's exactly my view as well, and that is, if that is what you take away from today, then I couldn't be more thankful. So yeah, we should all work together at the end and talk together and talk about, I don't know, imbalances and inequality but I now get the view that that you don't see so many problems as I see here in Germany, for example. And so that is quite a good view. Thank you for sharing that. I didn't expect it, and I don't know, Madeleine, if you want to. Oh, Dr. Peter Muhia Nanganga, please. I hope I spelled your name right. Sorry.
Yes. Good evening.
Hello. How are you?
I'm good. I just
what do you want to say?
To say or to contribute a little bit on the question: why do we have more male sometimes in a cooperative than female, or more men than women? I think sometimes it's just about the resources. Because for you to join a circle, you need to have resources, ability to contribute financially to the circle. And just before you become a contributor, you have to have an employment. Okay. So it really starts from employment levels, and then it comes to the membership in circles and so on. And you tend to find that when we come to urbanized circles, you tend to find that we have more women these days in employment. If you look at certain organizations, you are going to find that almost 3/4 are women. And that means that in terms of membership within that organization, you are going to have more women than men. But that is because of the foundation, which is now the employment. If you move now from urban to rural areas, you tend to find that women in rural areas in terms of employment are somehow marginalized. Not many of them are have the ability to contribute in terms of resources, and therefore becomes a little bit difficult for them to join circles. And for that reason, they are not even able to become members because they have, in terms of economic livelihood, they are not very much endowed. You find that men are the ones that are generally have money or have finances and resources in the rural areas. And again, also the culture that some of these circles find themselves in come into play, especially when it comes to leadership. You tend to find that some cultures don't allow women to speak before or in front of men, and therefore that really curtails women in leadership. But that again is very prevalent in those remote and rural areas. But when you come to our urban areas like Nairobi and Mombasa and all these big cities of Kenya, you tend to find that women generally might outnumber men in terms of membership, and that follows that even in leadership, you find them taking more of the leadership positions, because when it comes to elections, women members are many, and therefore they are likely to elect one of their own. So that is my contribution.
All right, thank you so much. That was, so you think it's a structural problem, especially in rural areas, and it's a financial thing, and but in urban, and it's a problem of I don't know, workspace rituals, and taking women not so serious as men, and so on. So about okay, Madeleine, please help me out here.
Thank you so much, Dr. Peter, and everybody else who's really active in the chat now, because I can see 1.5 hours down the line, we are circling around the elephant in the room, because Dr. Peter has just said one thing. Oh, female membership in cooperatives is low because females don't have financial resources. I'm asking myself, if we live longer, and usually we do, how can we still not have the same access to the same resources to make us generally more members in these cooperatives? How can that be? So we are getting closer now, I think, in our conversations. Then there is also the an observation that has been shared by one of our mentees in the chat, where she says, yes, there might be male membership and male leadership, but why do we even have to talk about that? We want inclusive leadership in cooperatives. Why is it not automatically happening? And there we go back to what Francis has said earlier. Oh, it's because of cultural norms, and because some women are not educated enough to do that. So I think we are coming closer and closer and closer to what we actually need to respect. Is we are not yet at a space where we are totally equal, because if we live longer, and if we have therefore more time to work and make money, why are we not many in the circles? Why are we not the ones having all the money that we can spare to save and to reinvest in our communities? So there we are slowly getting to the bottom of it. And I'm very keen to hear what which hand is this? It's from No. What No has to say about this.
I cannot see him. Oh yeah, No.
Yeah. No, your hand was up. Please go ahead, unmute yourself, and kindly share your views.
Hello. I think we can hear you. You can, yeah.
Yes, you're audible.
What I want.
Hello. Hi. I can hear you.
Us against them. You can.
Oh, the internet connection is
Or
not
them
quite
against.
good.
You're dropping, unfortunately.
I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now it's working. Now it's working. Go ahead. I think your internet connection is not stable, but now it's working. Yeah.
Okay. I'm just saying, it is not us against them or them against us. As you see, the women, it is the space of interest. As we can say, there's what we call silk.
What does it mean?
Table banking. Yeah. What's called table banking. If you go to those spaces, you'll find that they are dominated by women. And men are not complaining. because it is not our part of interest. If you come to things like constructions, yeah, you'll find that it is dominated by men. Women are not complaining. When you go to a situation like, let's say, education sector, you'll find that the number of women teachers and men, they're practically equal. So I think this idea of why women are not there, it is just because that ambition, yeah, lack of interest, if I can put it, not in a bad way, but because there is no law or there is no a committee where men sit and say we don't want a women leadership. Let's say there is an election taking place in Kenya. You'll find that they're being given equal opportunity to vie. But you find that risk taking, you'll find that men tend to take high risk than women. Even when we are raising our kids, if you have small kids in the house, then you see how the parent house will just say, sorry, pick it up from there. The woman will run to the kitchen, take what, come and nurse and everything, but we'll say, kick it off and move on. Yeah, that's life. There's some kind of things that are happening, not because we are, our form of interest. Yeah.
Can you imagine? So you would say, can you imagine that there are a lot of women outside? I think that would love to work in construction, for example, and or would you generally say that women don't have an interest in construction at all because they are women? What do you think? And what about how do you would you react if women would tell you, hey, I would love to work in construction? Then you would say, okay, no problem, come on in. But you, what's your thought on that?
Okay, what I can say in Kenya, there the formal education, there are some what we call STEM subjects. So we were conducting some focus group discussion in these girls' school, boys' schools. Then you'll find a totally different perception in them. You'll find that when we are coming up, boys will tend to go for STEM subjects. That's physics, chemistry, maths, and what have you. So you'll find that they have an added advantage outside the field. Then to ladies, I'm not saying all, I'm not generalizing, but most of them will tend to shy away from the STEM subjects. So after graduation or after everything, you'll find that now they're starting to scramble for that space, yet they have less advantage, which some men, they started nurturing back in the high schools. So you'll find that in the field, we have an added advantage, but it's not because the society has anything against the women, but you find that it is, what can I say? It is like not their nature, but if I can retrieve to what I say, they tend not to take that risk of getting involved in STEM subjects.
Do you really think it's about the risk? Because we have the same problem here in Germany as well. We can see that, for example, in medicine studies, for example, at the universities, we have a lot more women studying medicine who want to be doctors and neurologists and etc. later. At the universities, but it's like 60 or 70%. But when it comes to the when they go into the workspace later after they finish studying, that totally is changing. And in the most of the hospitals you have in the higher hierarchies, you have still only male structures and much more men. Handling the money, handling the structures, and so on. So why is that? Why are women, and here in Germany, the problem is that women are women are more not have equal chances because they have to stay home if they get kids. The fathers get more money. Even in the hospitals itself, women get less paid than men, and so on and so on. So don't you think it's more about the structures than the abilities and the risk, you would say? Because I don't think that women are. I would even say women are more risk-taking characters than men, if you ask me. So, in my experience, I don't know. But isn't it more about the structures than the character somehow? I hope I could make myself clear. No, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here. So according to you, you're saying that it is more about the structure. If I'm not getting you wrong.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying about the male-dominated structure, because men are more, like you would say, have more financial resources and have more resources and more rights and yeah.
Okay. When you say about the structure, let's say in Kenya, because I can't talk more about the Germany, but in Kenya, yeah, I think there is a rule. Let's say the percentage when you're applying for a job, then at the end of the day, let's say it was a managerial role, then you fall like 2 men and 1 lady. Let me assure you that at the end of the day, the lady will have it. They will give it to the another gender. Yeah, and that is a fact. They will say that, yeah, the third rule. So I don't think it's about the structure. I think the women leadership starts late, yeah, in life. Yeah, they start struggling in the space late in life, because when you are still a kid, you are being protected by the society. Yeah, but men are exposed. Yeah, I think we are being exposed in a younger age. Yeah, so we are coming up strong and everything. When we are coming to the space of around 18, we are strong enough to handle anything. But to us, our ladies, the father will protect her lady until 24, 25. Then we'll start exposing the lady to the leadership and everything. Then I think it is a little bit that it's a bit too late. So if you want to change this narrative and find out if it is a structure or a cultural thing, then we should start early enough and start treating our kids equally. Then I think we can see in the next 25 years, how does it turn out when the kids are being raised equally? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. That is exactly where I wanted to go. So yeah, and what about the protecting you were saying? You think women need protection from men, or did I get that right?
What I said, women, not women, even our girls are being protected. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Let's
Okay,
say when you are growing up, the chances that your boy child or girl child take, you'll find that they're being raised differently with the society.
Okay,
so I think, yeah. That's what I just said.
Thanks for clearing that up. Here's Martin as well, raising his hand, please.
Thank you. Good evening.
How are you? Where are you? And what are you doing?
Yes, I'm Martin. This is my first time here. I'm from Western Kenya, a county called Nandi County.
Okay.
My cooperative is Kotsengei Poultry Cooperative Society. We are dealing with the marketing, processing and marketing of chicken from our members and farmers generally from within the county. So great. I think I've been taking keen attention to the contribution, and I could say it's on point. And for me, like an earlier presentation, I come from a cooperative that is predominantly women-led and even owned. because poultry is considered culturally for women and maybe youth. So it's not really a men kind of field. And if there are few men doing it, yeah, so it's already biased and, lying an outlier in the whole system where we have, even in our contribution, like in our management, we have 5 ladies and 4 gentlemen. Even if you see the structure of production, we are almost over 60% women membership. And even the people showing interest are largely women. So I think the whole thing is that if we have to see it from sector point, and maybe from my interaction and maybe my previous kind of trying to understand the all dynamics of cooperative, is that if you have to look it from sector to sector. If you go to poultry, maybe some part of art, people doing weaving and so forth, you'll find women dominating all the structure, and maybe even involvement of men is because maybe there are few men who are skewed to those sectors. But when it comes to, when you talk of a cooperative, in Kenya, mostly you think of agriculture. But of course, there are other sectors where we have public transport, we have the matatu, we have maybe worker-based, maybe construction cooperatives, but they are very rare. But mostly, if you talk of cooperative, it's agricultural. SACCO is more urban, and maybe, again, most of the SACCOs are aligned to maybe, agriculture, but largely SACCO is more liberated. So when you talk to agriculture, the first thing you think is land. Who owns the land? It's largely men, yes. And if you think of land, what do you do with land? Mostly you go to production like dairy, cash crop, tea, coffee, all those. And you find that in those sectors is naturally, because land largely belong to men, and even inheritance is that, men will inherit land. It's only recent practices that even, families and communities are extending inheritance. But largely it's small portion. It's not equal share that you are giving to your children. So with that alone, it skews most of agricultural cooperatives, because land is one factor of production and it is deprived from, the women. And that's why you have, some of the most agricultural cooperatives dominated by men, because of just that access to land, which is a key part of production. So culturally, I think a lot had to be done, that, we let, the women or ladies get access to, land, so that with that, you'll find them, and, land is very expensive. A matter of resource too is that they might not be able to buy sizable land to do, cash crop, because when you talk of, especially the highlands where most agriculture happen, land is very expensive. So I think even for cooperatives, we need to remodel that we can have more products, that we don't just, if it's a coffee, let's say cooperative, you don't deal with coffee alone. Include other products, probably poultry, vegetables, so that you can have your members who are not maybe having access to do a commercially viable, coffee plantation or something, to still kind of have access to being members, even maybe producing chicken and selling through your coffee cooperative, and even tea also. So we encourage that we have multi-products, so that we can engage kind of a diverse kind of, so that we don't dominate, because, you have to have coffee to be a member of coffee kind of cooperative. So I think with that approach is that we'll have even more participation with the women and youth, particularly who are resource starved, and they're able to change their lives and even maybe participate and rise the ranks of management within cooperatives. I think that is my input. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you for anything. Thank you for all the points. So yeah, and thank you for answering, for just straight answering my what my question would have been. I would have asked, so what can all the male-dominated industries learn, like public transport and construction and so on, learn from the poultry culture and poultry industry. For there, but you already answered this, so thank you for that. I'm totally with you here. So it's about understanding of structure, it's about knowledge, it's about that we need to talk with men about that we need to give them the knowledge that there's a gender disparity here, and that women, that I personally think that a huge problem is as well that a lot of men we work with, and maybe in Kenya is it as well, don't know much about the life, the reality, the sexist and discriminative reality of women and queer people. So about their changes and about discrimination at all. So I think we need more. Yeah, men need to support and need to take care of that more women will come into the workplace and feel safe there, and support them, and give them money, give them all they need, and we can all succeed together. So thank you for sharing that. For me, it's fine. I got more time. If you want to share anything else, it's fine. But we can come to an end. If you need to leave or to start the evening, then feel free. I want to say thank you in general. Thank you for listening in general before you leave, and thank you for sharing your perspectives. And I hope we stay in contact somehow. Good luck for your business. Have a lot of success for your business. And
Christoph, as we wind up today's really interesting conversations, what sort of tips would you have for women who might have experienced inequality, for men who would love to support equality? Because that's I think the dominating opinion today evening is that most men want these important spaces to be shared, and they want women to be there, and they want their girls and their daughters to be up there one day. So what tips can you share with the men, but also with the women who have the same aspiration?
Thanks for asking. So I'm not sometimes I feel I'm not in a position as a white man to tell women anything. What they, I think you know best what you can do best. But I always would change to ask the man, hey, what can we do as men? We can. There are three things I think we can do as men, like daily. We can ask ourselves, hey, how male dominated is my own life? How male dominated I was grow up? How male socialized is my behaviors? If I predominantly moving around and experiencing male dominated areas and workplaces and in sports and so on. Be aware of male-dominated structures, and if you have a problem with that, then talk to the men. Talk to them about how can we as men break them up, these structures. How can we get women involved here and taking part, that they feel safe. So that is a structure level that we can do every day. And on a media level, I would say it's really important that we should teach our kids female and queer role models, that we should check watch more movies with women and female protagonists, with queer protagonists, watch more diverse stories, and stop watching all these violence bullshit men bring into the world. And so that is really important. So we don't need more superhero content. So, but at the end, I would say in practical terms, wherever your special topic is, if you are a father, then take care and care about it. Support the career of your partner, of your female partner. Try to get in an emotional language and integrity and language by heart, as we said, with your boys, especially with your boys, and raise them. And show them and go with them to, I don't know, show them that soccer is not male dominated. Show them that you support female soccer players. For example, show them female role models. Our boys need to grow up with more female and queer role models, and we as fathers and men should show them how to do it ourselves. So yeah, that would be my, so, and wherever you are located, whatever is your industry and your daily work, and just beware of these 3 steps, and ask yourself every day, how can I support women's rights, the place for women? How can I make the workplace safe for women, and speak up against violence and sexism and male dominance if you notice it from now on? Thank you for that. 3 easy steps, so it's not that hard.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Thank you very much. It's that awareness that, yes, women can continue to claim those spaces, but there's also another approach, which is men can proactively invite women to become their partners, and also in pointing out things that are still not ideal, as you have said, discrimination at the workplace, or a discrimination in other spaces. Even we all know those examples where our girls want to take up certain hobbies, and for us as parents, automatically we say, oh, how can you go into rugby? Instead of saying, of course, if you want to do it, go ahead. So it's those little observations here and there that will help all of us to sooner or later get into that very inclusive environment. And again, I would like to appreciate all the contributions today. And definitely one big takeaway for me today is that we were almost 30 people in this session. And I think we have one element in common, which is we want cooperatives to be inclusive, and we want these spaces to be shared. We want our women to be strong, and we want our men to have equal partners at eye level. And I think this is a very beautiful common ground for any development that happens afterwards. Okay, let us come to a close.
Wonderful. We have a final yes. comment here, and it's summarized very well what we talked about. And thank you for sharing that, Daisy. And yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, Madeleine, I didn't want to interrupt you.
That's okay. Daisy, thank you. Daisy, who has worked in many cooperatives, not only from an inside perspective, but also often from an outside advisory role. She's saying, in my experience working with cooperatives, the disparities between male and female leadership are shaped by more than just opportunity. They are rooted in culture, confidence, and lack of mentorship opportunities. So again, thank you, Daisy, for summarizing this, and thank you everybody for showing that open mindset this evening. I know the excursion we have had today and the exposure we have had today was more than unusual, and I appreciate everybody for their time. Christoph, I thank you for sharing your observations and your contents with us. That was really something different for us. I can assure you such open conversations about male and female roles are very rare, and for sure for many of us here a first time. And
here in Germany as well. Here in Germany as well. I can, and forgive me, please, when I can say that, at least forgive me for my words, for my bad English. And thank you, Madeleine, for helping me out here. And yeah, it's not my mother tongue, so sorry for that.
Neither is it mine. Neither, to be honest, is it anybody's in the room, because we have all learned in some places. So, right, then I wish everybody a wonderful evening. If you want to reflect further on any of these topics today, Christoph has said he's open to deeper conversations. Our office is always there. we meet most of you on the 2nd of December in Nairobi. So if you want to go back on any of these contents today, if you want to take them further, if you want to discuss them in a different framework or rephrase certain experiences from today, then please do that. We are more than happy to continue this conversation. For now, I wish you a very happy evening, and thank you so much for joining us today for this excursion into gender parity. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madeleine, for moderating this, and thank you. Have a great evening, and have a great night. Thank you for everything. Bye bye. See you soon. Should I stay here with you, Madeleine? Do we want to discuss anything, or?
Ja, bleib mal noch kurz dran.
Okay. Wie ist das Wetter bei euch gerade?
Jetzt ist es schon dunkel draußen. Ich weiß jetzt auch nicht. Also,
Aber ungefähr wie viel Grad habt ihr?
during the day, it might be like 25, 26, 27. But because of high altitude in Nairobi, the temperature always drops in the evening, which makes it very pleasant throughout the year.
Okay. Oh.
Okay, so everybody who is still in the room, kindly take note. The session has officially ended. Obviously, you can stay around for much longer if you want to continue with these conversations, or maybe share views that are not meant for everybody to listen or everybody to hear. But otherwise, feel free to proceed and carry on with your day. Okay, there's more contributions in the chat.
Here's 5 o'clock, so in at your place it's like 7 o'clock?
10 past 7, yeah.
10 past 7, okay.
And most of our mentees, when they join us for these sessions, they do that right from their workplaces. So on days where we have mentorship sessions,